mobs down. So good evening to everyone. This is the March 26th meeting of the Basalt Town Council. So we will begin with the roll call and call to order. Pam?
Okay, let's begin with Dieter Schindler.
Present.
Ryan Slack.
Here.
Bill Kane.
Here.
Angela Anderson is absent. David Knight is absent. Elise Hoddle.
Present.
Great, we have a quorum.
All right, we have a thin quorum. So first business, consent agenda. There are numerous items on there. Minutes from February 27th, a proclamation for National Donate Life Month. Jackie, I'm going to get to you back there. And letter of support for CLEAR's application to CDOT for funding for study of innovative mobility transportation management organization, seed funding. And that's also being supported by RAFTA and all of the local governments in the valley. Resolution number 18, series of 24, resolution Town Council of Basalt, Colorado, to opt out of the Colorado Remote Public Access to Criminal Court. So that's on consent. And then resolution 19, approving a professional services agreement with Fafman Group for our summer day camp facility. So entertain a motion to approve consent agenda.
Mayor, move the town council approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda is approved. Next item, call to public. Anyone like to address the town council about any item that is not on the agenda tonight? Either live or call in.
I don't have anyone in the attendees or on all three of the panelists, so.
Okay, so that will constitute public. For anybody that's looking in, this is a thin agenda and a short meeting. It's spring break week, and we have many staff and members of the community with kids, and they're getting out of Dodge here for this week, so it's a pretty slow week. So we trimmed the agenda down. So I have no mayor or council reports. Does anyone want to offer anything? Nope. Okay, we'll move on from that. So the manager is down in Arizona. He's not going to make a report tonight. We'll do our presentations. Jackie, this is your cue. Come on up. So Jackie's a good soul and is going to talk to us about a proclamation, which I think I have here in my hot hand, for American Red Cross. I'm sorry we didn't have a packed room for you, but you know.
It's okay. It looks like everybody got the memo and no one came because they knew I was coming. I appreciate you giving us the time to do this. This is my new job, the Red Cross. I'm a volunteer, as are 90% of the people that work for the Red Cross are working unpaid. So it seemed like the thing to do, and it's kind of fun. The people are great, and I'm just here. I set up meetings through at all the elected officials boards in the valley to do this because no one's ever done it before, and yet this has been going on since the beginning of time. Let's see, I have to put my glasses on. Since 1943, when the American Red Cross started doing proclamations at elected boards, and started with President Franklin Roosevelt, who did a proclamation, and it's been done by the president every year since then. And basically, I think everybody knows that the Red Crosses are here just to make sure people are not left out in the cold for whatever reason. Fires, floods, mostly fires. The Roaring Fork Valley has 49 volunteers. 45 are trained in mass care sheltering and have dedicated over 2,200 hours of service in the last year. That would not be me. This includes installing 102 smoke alarms and making 291 lives safer because of that, and training 76 on how to perform hands-only CPR. The Western Slope Red Cross has responded to 60 disasters and assisted 137 people last year. And the Red Cross is proud to be a part of this community, and we thank you again for the opportunity to recognize and celebrate our amazing local volunteers. And I know this isn't live, or that's what I'm understanding, but this is also my opportunity to say, we don't have as many volunteers in the Roaring Fork Valley as we could use. I mean, you don't usually need volunteers, but when you do, apparently there was actually a call to respond to a house fire, and no one came from the Red Cross because there wasn't anybody. So I would just ask that anybody who's listening or gets this message, if you have any time to get trained at all, just no matter what little part of the Red Cross you can work, it's not a big time consumer. You can make it a big time consumer, but we could use your help. And thank you
We're
all.
going to read this proclamation. You start with the first 2 paragraphs.
Oh, that's sweet.
Around the horn.
Thank you.
Sign it.
During American Red Cross Month in March, we recognize the compassion of people in the Basalt, Colorado, and reaffirm our commitment to care for one another in times of crisis. The generous spirit is woven into the fabric of our community and advances the humanitarian legacy of the American Red Cross founder Clara Barton, one of the most honored women in our country's history, who nobly dedicated herself to alleviating suffering.
Today, kind-hearted individuals in our community exemplify Barton's commitment as they step up through the Western Colorado chapter to provide a beacon of hope for our neighbors in need. Through their voluntary and selfless contributions, they make a life-saving difference in people's darkest hours, whether it's delivering shelter, food, and comfort during disasters, providing critical blood donations for hospital patients, supporting military families, veterans, and caregivers through the unique challenges of service, or saving lives with first aid, CPR, and other skills.
We hereby recognize this month of March in honor of all those who lead with their hearts to serve people in need, and we ask everyone to join in this commitment to strengthen our community.
Now, therefore, we, the Basalt Town Council, by virtue of the authority vested in us by the laws of Basalt and Colorado, do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Red Cross Month. I encourage all citizens of Basalt, Colorado to reach out and support its humanitarian mission.
Signed. I'll sign that, Curter, right now, and we'll be in the public record.
Cool.
Does X work here?
Works for me.
Jackie, thanks for
Thank you.
to our attention, and
Great job.
yeah, good job.
Can I have that, or a copy of it?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
That or a copy of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You get the real deal.
Great, thank you. Good to see all.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Likewise, thanks.
That's the Widowmaker record there.
Tell me about it, thank you.
So next up is the Midland Avenue Streetscape project. I don't know, Mr. Lambert's on, but Catherine, you gonna do this?
Dave was on, hopefully. Did you see him on there?
I don't see him.
Mr.
Leaving me high and dry. That's okay. If he's not, I can take it away.
Scott and John.
Okay. Well, anyway, we're just bringing you tonight, as you know, in our second meeting of every month, we do an update on the project, and I suppose this is the first one since we've really, in earnest, started construction for the year. For the first 2 weeks, starting in March, it wasn't Stutzman that was on site, but the gas company. They were moving a main a little bit further south through town, and they wrapped that up. And then starting last week, Stutzman was back to start with their scope of work as we for the contract that we approved in November of last year. So that started with the installation of the stormwater system, and that is continuing this week. The snow hasn't helped efforts, but that's the deal with construction this time of year. And outside of that, I don't have a lot of updates other than things are going well thus far. Haven't run into anything of concern. We did find a couple kind of extensive pieces of the old rail, and we posted those on the town website. We saved those, and hopefully we can think of something pretty neat to do with those to make sure that the public can
It was
enjoy
curved too,
them.
wasn't it? So it was like one of
Was.
the rail sections by the spur.
Yeah, so it was a pretty neat find, and it's surprising, I think in some ways that we haven't run into more of that. So, yeah, we'll keep those and determine, something cool to do with those in the future.
So, I've asked Doug if he wouldn't mind giving us a quick kind of summary on the overall sort of budget, this $16 million, $16.7 million, I think, and how much of that is actually attributed to Midland Avenue and what was presented to the voters, and how much was the spur and other extraneous items that were not in the scope of the bond issue. So Doug, if you wouldn't mind, just give us the highlight numbers.
So I think there was a letter to the editor, I think authored here by Mr. Guy, that had referenced 16.7 million as the total cost, and was comparing that to what the bond offering was, which was 9.5 and included in that was the Midland bond offering, was the Midland streetscape project, which did not include, as my understanding of it, the spur that was approved subsequent to the bond offering. And when that was approved, that had gone through the protocols of our budget, and that brought the total cost up to where we are now, so 16.7 is what we're tracking. And that assumes, by the way, that we're going to be spending $1.2 million of the contingency. And we had debated this summer taking that contingency down, thought that it was a bit fat number and that we could do better than that. And I think we'll ultimately do better than that. If we do better than that, we'll spend less than the 16.7. So I think the whole truth is that that Midland project, in my view, was just not from the spur up, it was the entire project. So the entire project is what was ultimately approved vis-a-vis the bond offering, vis-a-vis the subsequent budgets that the town adopted, 22 and 23, and even in 24, there's money in there as well. So I'll just recap that $9.5 million was the bond offering. We also have received an additional $2.7 million between grants, interest, and cost sharing with Holy Cross and some other cost sharing arrangements we had. So we'd be able to cobble together additional funding to defray the cost of the project. So we've also transferred money, as you know, from the general fund into the Midland project to complete the work. So we are in budget, in my view, and what we've been presenting in a very transparent way from time I've been here.
So the representation of the public was $11.5 million for Midland. And where are we relative to that, would you say?
I would say I would say it all depends on how you define Midland. I mean, that's really the source of the confusion here and how we conflate words. I would say we're generally under in that number, and that we'd be able to offset a lot of those costs through money from ARPA, through CDOT, through DOLA,
Right.
and then we've put up on the board $500,000 of interest income. All of those things have been reducing the cost of the actual project itself.
Okay, great.
So
the digging going on this week, we got, championship hole out there right now that's bigger than, I think that's starting the storm drainage work.
Yep, that's connecting into the Midland storm drainage that we installed last year. And, we're testing it now as we go through these freeze-thaw cycles. And, as you may remember, out here on the spur was a true pond at one point, a year and a half ago, and it's really, from my engineering perspective, pretty impressive to see how well, that is working, and we're just continuing that up. So, yep, they're working on the storm drainage now. Next, we'll start to see some of the street level improvements in front of Midland Mall, and at the corner of the spur in Midland. That will be coming in the coming weeks, and I think it will be really neat to start seeing how it's going to look on the ground, and especially in that integral area in front of Midland Mall that really invites us to downtown.
So we're going to install CMP as we go and then work sort of upstream?
Yeah, it's a HDPE pipe that will be connected through concrete structures, and it'll all be center draining as we've discussed with you in the past. And yeah, those grades, the challenges of the grading as you move up Midland were significant, but I think our team has come up with a good plan and it'll work well in the future.
Very cool. Any questions?
I saw on, I don't know which Facebook page it was now, something about the bricks representing the rail lines.
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand it. Can you touch on that?
Sure, for sure. So our design team really did a deep dive into the history of Midland and really wanted that to be reflected in their design. And in one of the areas where you'll see that most literally is in front of Tempranillo. As you may envision, all of the buildings along Midland are generally parallel with the street except for Tempranillo, which is set at an angle because that is where the rail kind of moved at an angle to join Midland Avenue and the rail there. So let's just see if we had a picture here. So the brick detailing in front of Tempranillo is reflective of that old rail line and how it joined Midland Avenue. So that's a pretty, it'll be a nice detail. We'll also be upgrading the historic walking tour through downtown, so that can be a little more obvious.
My next question.
Yeah. And then in addition to that, we're gonna have some placemaking, details in the street or in the sidewalk where we'll be naming the historic names of the building in the year that corresponds to their building, so that we can reflect on, this is the start of the Kelly building and some of the other buildings along downtown. So there'll be nods to the history throughout the final design.
Cool.
Yeah.
Questions? Any others? Thanks, Catherine.
Yeah, of course.
Keep her going.
Thanks.
It's beautiful spring weather out there for
Yeah.
construction. So next item is council action. This is 7A, resolution number 20, series of 2024, resolution of the Town Council of Basalt, Colorado, calling for a specific election on the initiative ordinance for May 21st, 2024, appointing the designated election official and setting the ballot question. Is Jeff on?
Special election, not specific election.
Okay.
I mean, it's also a
Sorry.
specific election.
I meant special election.
Specifically special.
Do we have Jeff on?
He's not on.
Ah.
Just pop over here. I have the same screen, just don't turn it. Those are the.
He's there.
No. This is a different name.
He's not on.
We're not going to have him?
He's not on.
Okay, great. Okay, we'll have to proceed. This is scary stuff. We got to proceed without our attorney. Holy folks, I don't know about this. So any discussion from council? Questions?
No, do we have to have a public hearing because it's the second reading?
It's just a resolution.
Oh, it's just a resolution?
Yeah.
Okay, Mayor, I move the town council adopt resolution number 20, series of 2024.
Second.
Before we vote, do you guys have anything to offer about this?
No,
Okay, thank you.
I would prefer it was
just-
a little sooner. It's 9 months since we started the process.
So we have a motion and a second, so all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So resolution number 20 passes. The election will take place May 21st, 2024.
Thank you.
So ordered. That's all we have for tonight. This is a slim trim. I think this is a record town council meeting. They should all be like this, right? So thanks, everyone. And we'll be back at it on what's our next gathering will be April 9.
I gotta